when only nuclear weapons would stop the advance, when the American president, and he alone, gives the okay.
G'day boys, and happy 1 week to go to the release of the long-awaited Broken Arrow. As you can tell, today we're going for a softer approach, and we're going to be talking about something that's perhaps a little different to the usual Broken Arrow chat, but something that I hope you're going to find just as interesting as I do, and that is Doctrine. The classic America versus Russia, East versus West is the setting that we find ourselves in the game. Now what's good when talking about Doctrine is the fact that not much has actually changed since the Cold War. Essentially, while we might have new technology and units, neither faction has been involved in a full-scale war, arguably since Vietnam, which is, 60s? Okay, wait, let me just quickly check that. Okay, wow, shit, didn't realize it was so recent. Anyway, so I guess it's a bit more recent than I thought, but that's still 50 years ago, and even then that was insurgency and guerrilla-styled warfare, which again we haven't seen since. Now, obviously I'm aware of Ukraine, it is a sensitive topic, it is still ongoing, and honestly the sooner it's over the better for all. But this isn't a political channel, so let's just please not get into that and keep going with this historic Doctrine video.
Stay on target. We're too close. Stay on target.
Right, enough of that, let's get into it. We're going to talk about real-world doctrines, tactics, and strategy that you can use in-game to help you take the field. Now, this comes from me serving as a regular officer in the British Armed Forces for over 8 years, and obviously while England's not been in a full-scale war in decades, there's a lot of things that I've picked up over the years that will definitely be applicable to the game. Adopted from the Soviet Union, Russia has a long history of building for mass, and this can be seen even today. Russia has a clear philosophy on all-out war, overwhelming artillery and bombardments, followed by a heavy armoured push, which is arguably the meta right now in Game 2. In all fairness, it's an old and reliable method that's seen huge success throughout history. Again, for Russia, numbers and overwhelming is key, and you can see that in the current conflicts that we shall not mention, where basically the same tactics are still in use. In-game, this is still reflected by the fact that a T-90 stock costs you 170 points, which is a fraction of what an Abrams will cost you. And seeing as you also get very cheap T-80s, the best idea is probably to get quite a few of them, build up your armoured units, and smash through the American enemy positions with that big armoured push. So yeah, that still works in the game as well. And now quickly on to what the American counterparts would be expected to do. There is much less definitive outline of the overall doctrine and trends. Furthermore, there is more independence afforded to lower level commanders, so we can see a lot more variety. However, one thing is for certain: air superiority, drones, bombing the shit out of everything that moves has been Americans' game plan and arguably backbone in every conflict it's ever taken part in. This is by far their most effective strategy, and even in heavy ground-led attacks like Iraq, Operation Desert Storm, air power contributed to the most enemy losses by a mile. And this is also reflected in the game with America's massive selection of different missiles, bombs, and everything that you can equip. So if you want to play America, something for you to try is to try and focus on the air power. Obviously it's quite hard to balance with the S-300s, but that is something you can do, especially with the Growler's seeds. That is something that I will definitely be doing once it is out. Now I want to talk about something that probably doesn't get talked about enough, and that is pacing, which is a key part of the strategy in Broken Arrow. Unlike Warno and Steel Division, which rewards players for always being aggressive, so gameplay becomes a bit endlessly throwing units into the fight and who can click reinforcements the fastest, the points build up and the phases of play mean that you can actually afford to withdraw a group and rebuild your battle plan. This means you're much less focused on being reactive all the time and instead can properly engage the enemy towards the end of the phase to cap the flags at the best time. So you don't end up with just boring meat grinder battles. The last phase, third phase, is actually the most important as there's the most victory points on offer. So it'd be an even better idea to save a lot of points for your fight then. I'd go as far as to say that the best strategy is to use the first phase purely for probing attacks and reconnaissance, and once you've got all your enemy marked, use the intel to your advantage and prepare a battle group that is the perfect counterbalance to those specific troops, which should then absolutely walk all over them. Once an enemy loses its front line and positions, the temptation for them is to immediately spam their reinforcements, spend all their points fighting a losing battle, lose all your established units, and then get the reinforcements picked off one by one. Basically, you've got them in your back pocket for the rest of the game. It's very hard to bounce back from having your entire formation wiped out. Now, to counter such a huge loss or a blitz-styled attack is actually quite straightforward. Basically do exactly what the Soviets did at the start of Barbarossa: fall back, withdraw, keep falling back, let them take those flags, keep letting them overextend, build up your reserves, and eventually you'll be in a position to strike back. What I've actually seen happen quite a lot is players being very hesitant to withdraw their units and sort of preferring to expend them to the last man, sort of delay the enemy. A much better idea is to pull them back, resupply them, fix them up, and then reuse them in a fight at a later stage. With the longer battles as well, you can afford to take long flanking maneuvers around the side, which is a massive bonus, and the huge shock effect if they don't see you coming. Be wary though that the enemy is almost definitely guaranteed to bring in helis and air support as soon as your flank is discovered, so make sure to bring mobile SHORAD and other air defense, which obviously includes fighters. And finally, no matter what doctrine or tactics you go for, the single biggest advantage you will have is to work together. Now that doesn't just mean having a pre-made team of 5, but even soloing, you absolutely have to help your teammates out. Keeping them supplied and reinforced is key, especially if one teammate has to deal with a 2-player push or more. Don't be selfish with your supplies and air support, as if one player falls, you will all struggle to cover the gaps that he leaves. I hope you guys understand that these tactics or ideas of Doctrine are just historical ideas to get you started. By no means absolutely take them for granted, and know that everything is always situationally dependent. This is just a guide, and a good guide to be fair, but again remember that it is just a guide. If you guys have any other ideas or Doctrine's tactics, let me know in the comments below. I'd look forward to reading them. So before I wrap up the video, I'd like to say a massive thank you to Beagle and a few others who commented basically saying that my last mic, well, it was a bit shit. So now I've got a new one, and I do hope you like the quality, and I hope that the quality of my voice is going to be a lot better for the future videos. But again, just let me know what you think. Is it actually better, or was the old one better? Now, lastly, I am still doing a giveaway, so if you do want to take part for a Vanguard edition of the game on the 16th, please just leave a like, comment, and subscribe down below. I'm starting a team for the BA League, and we've got a Discord set up and everything, so if you guys want to join, then please do click on the link in the description below, and I hope to see you on the field. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.